You don't need to hide your body. You don't need to hide your body.
Hello, today we're looking at our values and how they can actually hinder or hurt our relationship. And I'm going to offer you one activity to investigate this and possibly fix it, or at least gain some greater awareness as to why we do this and how we can make things better. So, what do I mean by our values hurting our relationships? If you think about the core values that matter to you, that you want in your intimate, sexual, romantic relationships, you might come up with a list of, say, a top 3, 5, 8 qualities. For example, honesty might be one of your values. Does this mean that if your partner's learning to play an instrument or learning to speak a new language, you get to tell them how shit they are every time they practice? Probably not. But it can also be more nuanced than this. Let me give you another example where maybe we're looking at choices rather than values. Something I hear from many of my lesbian single clients is that they only want to date other lesbians or bisexuals. They don't want to date straight women. But guess what? There's far more straight women in the world, statistically, than there are lesbians or bisexuals. And more often than not, they'll find one who they like, and there may be an opportunity to explore a relationship or intimacy with them. So this is a perfect example where you have a value or a rule, and yet under specific circumstances with certain people, you bend those rules. Often when we first meet someone, we like to express our values and we tend to put our best foot forward, obviously, because we want them to like us. So if we are someone who's very into honesty, we will be very honest and transparent with our partner. As time goes on, this might change, either because we find certain things upset them or irritate them or agitate them, or we find that being honest about something doesn't get the result we wanted, so we change our behavior. So now you have some idea of what it means to have values and, in certain circumstances, not to stick to them or to interpret them differently. So now you understand what I mean when I'm talking about values or choices and how they can have a negative impact on the actual reality of how we live in a relationship. Let me give you an activity for how you can understand your own values better and possibly change this habit. Before I do that, let me introduce myself. I'm Tiger Rose. I run Intimata, and I offer intimacy coaching and sex therapy for gender and sexual minorities. So that's people who are LGBTQAI+, that's the full umbrella, and kinky and poly people as well. So let's get into the activity. First of all, grab a piece of paper, or if you want to write this on your computer, that's fine, and think of your top 5 values that you want in a relationship. If you want to pause this, you can do that and come back again. So now you've got your top 5. First of all, ask yourself, have there been any times or are there occasions where any of these actually conflict each other? So for example, if you have kindness and truthfulness or honesty as your top values, you may find there are times when those two conflict each other. Is it kinder not to say something to your partner? Maybe not tell the whole truth? Or is it more honest to say something that you know is unkind and might hurt them? Or maybe hurting someone in the short term isn't the problem. Not saying something in the long term is more unkind and more hurtful. So again, it's not about it being wrong or right or any kind of value judgment. It's for you to look at the potential conflict, idiosyncrasies, internal biases that you have within your set of values. So once you've explored if any of your values are contradictory, the next question is, ask yourself, under what conditions would you bend or break these values? So as I mentioned, you may be a lesbian and you say, never dating straight women, and then this amazing straight woman shows up and she wants to explore and maybe feels like she might be bisexual or lesbian, so that rule goes out the window. Or Maybe you're someone who's polyamorous and you meet someone who you really connect with, but they're into monogamy. And you think, well, I'm willing to give this a try up to a point to see if possibly they'd be open to polyamory. So again, this is much more about taking time to get to know yourself than actually saying, well, this is the right thing to do in this circumstance, or listening to what I'm saying and judging someone who makes those decisions just because they're different to yours. So now what you have is a list of your core values, an understanding of where they might push up against each other, and under what circumstances you might find you break or change these values. How is this helpful to you? This is something that's really useful if you're single and looking to date, whether you're monogamous into any form of ethical non-monogamy or polyamory, because you now have a basis of understanding that you can discuss these things with your partner. And values are things that we tend not to talk about. We just assume. We assume our values are the right values, and we often perceive others as wrong if they don't share our values. So now you've done this activity, it's a really useful starting point if you are dating to talk about what really matters to you with someone else, as well as the more human, flexible aspects of how you are and how you relate. If you're in a relationship, I invite you to do this together and discover what really matters to each other. It's going to be different. Neither one of you is right, neither one of you is wrong. It's about recognizing what matters to both of you and finding ways to relate. I hope you found this activity useful. If you have any questions or comments, please pop them below, hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
You don't need to hide your body. You don't need to hide your body.